Hi, welcome back to Enjoying the Word. I just want to do a few short videos where we flag up some Bible study mistakes. Easily done, very common, but it's just good to know, because if we can be aware of these, then hopefully we can avoid doing them. And the first one we're going to look at is proof texting. Okay, so here's that verse again from 2 Timothy 2:15. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. So this series is kind of the wrongly handling the word of truth, right? We're making mistakes here, and here's the study process. And really, when we think about the study process, there are mistakes that can be made all the way through it. But I suppose really it's going to be in this second phase here. After looking to see what the text says, it's when we start trying to learn what the text means that we can make mistakes. Perhaps most often. Although having said that, a lot of the mistakes we make are failure to look carefully. We rush to the interpretation phase, we rush to learning, or we fail to kind of follow up on that and to think through its implications for us and for our lives. But we're going to zero in a little bit on this learn phase in these next few videos. So what is proof texting? Well, to put it really simply, proof texting is where you kind of pluck a text because it's useful. You pluck it out of its context and you use it because the wording is useful for your purpose. It could be a very theological purpose that you have. You're trying to kind of find biblical support for a position, or it could just be sort of devotional, nice sounding words, but still plucked out of their context. Let me give you an example. This is a probably well-known one. Genesis 31:49. The Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. What is that referring to? Okay, it sounds like a nice sort of parting blessing as we leave this church service, as we're in different time zones. You know, the Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. Okay, sounds good, but it's a verse plucked out of context. And like I often say, God is better at communicating than we are at understanding. What God has made it say is better than what we can make it say. So as nice as that is, as a sort of parting blessing, actually it's fascinating to read it in its context and see what's really going on there. And so let me add a little bit of context. It's in the midst of a very tense conversation between Jacob and Laban, two master tricksters who have kind of foxed and outfoxed each other over the course of 2 decades, and now they're separating, and Jacob is taking Laban's daughters and grandchildren and significant portion of his flocks with him. So at this point in this tense interchange, Laban said, "This heap of stones is a witness between you and me today." Therefore he named it Galeed and Mizpah, for he said, "The Lord watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you oppress my daughters, or if you take wives besides my daughters, although no one is with us, see, God is witness between you and me." So it's actually not a parting blessing, it's kind of a parting threat, basically saying, you marry someone else as well, and you've got God on your back, because I'd be on your back. You know, this kind of tension between them. So yeah, it sounds nice to pluck it out of context, but let's not do that. Let's recognize that verses and sayings and phrases and sentences all fit in their own context. They all make sense in their own context, and actually they're better understood in their own context. Okay, so let's avoid proof texting as much as we can. Let's always try, whenever we go to see a verse, see a phrase, to look around and make sure that it makes sense in the setting that God put it in, and that we're using it appropriately to that context.